again from the garden. It's Christina from Sunshine and Flora. If you're new to my channel, I have an urban flower farm in Northwest Iowa. I am zone 5A and we are in the middle of June and I am way overdue on giving you guys a full garden tour. Now, if you saw one of my previous videos, I did a full tour of my hoop house and everything I currently have planted in there. If you missed that, make sure to check it out. But today I want to give you a tour of everything that I have planted in the ground, which is a majority of my area. My urban flower farm is located downtown in my small town of Northwest Iowa, right next door to my photography studio. I've been a professional photographer for about 20 years. This is my third season officially selling cut flowers. I have a side lot next to my studio building where my garden started, and I grew everything in the last 2 years. This year I have doubled my space and I have expanded out back and turned a big area of my parking lot into a growing area. So I want to show you all of that as well. I sell all of my flowers at our local farmers market. I do special orders, and then I also do a delivery every once in a while to a bakery about 20 minutes away, and I have a few florists that I sell to. So it's going to be a really exciting season. Now, before I get started, a lot of you are probably going to think, oh my gosh, she barely has any flowers in her garden. Well, that is for a couple of reasons. The first one is it's very early in the season. So I started off having thousands of tulips, then transitioned into some peonies and other early flowers. Right now is always a little bit of a lull in the garden before those summer flowers really kick in. I'm getting a lot of snapdragons, but that is kind of the bulk of my flowers for right now. I really would like to change that for next year, so I'm already making a list of some of those spring into summer flowers to plan on growing. I also would like to get a lot more perennials established because those are some of the earliest bloomers that you can pick on this time of year. The second reason the garden probably looks a little bare is we as cut flower farmers are harvesting the flowers just as they are ready and either selling them right away or putting them in the cooler to sell. So unless it's August and my garden is totally overrun with zinnias and other things, there is not a ton of color in the garden because I'm picking everything that I possibly can to sell. Anyway, enough of my rambling. I want to give you a full tour of all of my planting beds, and we'll probably start right here in the middle, right next to my greenhouse. So right now in my greenhouse are mostly annuals that I need to get potted up, like some petunias, geraniums, different things like that. I started from seed that are going to be more the decorative things. But I did have a lot of my seedlings in there earlier while they were hardening off, and it really came in handy. But planted right in front of the greenhouse, this is all rudbeckia, and you can see it is completely full, covered with blooms. These are second year rudbeckia. Rudbeckia is a perennial in my area, and so these were actually planted last year, and they are completely full of buds, and they're going to be blooming anytime now. I have some over here that are opening and are probably going to be ready to harvest next week. I am so excited. These are kind of a variety of kinds. I know there's Cherokee Sunset in here, Cherry Brandy. I planted Goldilocks for the first time this year, so those are in a different area, which I will show you. Did I say Sahara already? Maybe. That's one of my favorite ones. I think those are the main three. I may have some Prairie Sun variety in here, but that one tended to attract the bugs the most, and so that is probably the least variety that I have planted. But these are just going to be amazing to have as perennials. So let's start walking around the rest of the garden. It's pretty much a loop, so I think we will go this way first, loop around, and then I'll show you all of my brand new planting space that is on the outside of the fenced-in area. So this first bed is the first part of a long stretch that spans the whole length of my building. This is kind of the corner area that is right next to my pergola structure, which my dad and I built a couple years ago. You can see I have a potting bench there and a chair. Those are where I'm going to put some hanging baskets and some other decorative flowers just to kind of cozy it up for the season. But this first corner is a really nice large planting area that I have completely filled. And this is newly planted, so these plants are still pretty little. But over here, I have a large area of bells of Ireland. And then kind of in the back, this is all mountain mint. And then around the front, I have craspedia. And let me just zoom in on these little plants so you can see what they look like. So here's a look at the bells of Ireland. And then if we pan over, you can see the little plants of mountain mint. And then the craspedia is more of a blue foliage, and these get the little yellow balls that are perfect for fresh flowers or even for drying. So then if we pan to the left of that bed, right in front of my air conditioner, which it's in an unfortunate spot, but you know, there's nothing I can do about that. This is a patch of yarrow. This is the second year for this yarrow, and it is just absolutely covered with blooms. I have been harvesting off of this for at least 3 weeks now, and I'm really glad to have this little patch. I may have to thin it out at some point because it is really getting thick in there, but you know, yarrow tends to spread and it just gets better every year. So now we're on the opposite side of the air conditioner, and you can see I have some really nice Feverfew in here. I'm actually going to be harvesting a lot of this tomorrow for some orders. And then as I zoom out, this entire patch right here is all status, different varieties. And then the trellises along the side of the building, those are all planted down in front with a blushing Susie vine. And so those should grow up and cover those trellises by the end of summer. And then next to it, I do have one handmade trellis. There's a couple more Susie vines on there and then one miniature pumpkin. But if we pan back over across the pathway and look right next to the greenhouse, this is a bed of some Snapdragons. These will all be the Madame Butterfly mix. And so I have a lot of Snapdragons in the hoop house right now that are blooming. So this will be a nice second crop of Snapdragons. All right, so back against the building again, here's the status and the trellis that I just showed you. If we pan down and look at this next bed, this is a bed that every year it just seems to be a little bit of a disaster. And so I have really worked on cleaning it out. And I ended up fully amending the soil and putting down some nice landscape fabric this year. You can see I have a couple of perennial echinacea. And then in front of the echinacea, I have planted, that's some globe thistle. I have 6 of those on both sides. And then I did add landscape fabric to the rest of the bed just because I really wanted to control the weed pressure. So this is where all of my Goldilocks Rebeckia is planted, and then down at the other end, those are all direct sown zinnias. And at the back of the bed, you can see that little strip of soil. I have 3 rows of sweet corn in there, and they're just starting to pop up. It's an ambrosia sweet corn, and I'm really excited to have that in the garden this year. And then at the back, I have a large hollyhock just for fun, because I figured that would be some nice interest in the corner of the garden. Let me zoom out. So this is the side of my studio that faces Main Street. So if you see cars going by, that's actually Main Street. Here is a view of my large center bed of the garden, which, ignore a few weeds. I completely cleaned this out last week. And of course, oh, there you see a car going by. Of course, some weeds have popped in here. This will be my main dahlia patch, and I think this is going to be a perfect spot because it gets full sun all day long. The soil is really nice. I, of course, fertilize heavy when I plant dahlias, but this is going to be a really great patch. And you can see I already have some dahlias planted. So the dahlias that are already planted, these actually were some that I took cuttings off of and rooted over the winter, and they are very tall. They've been pinched already. And if you're wondering what the white powder is on the dahlia leaves, that is flour, just like baking flour. I had some baby grasshoppers hatch in the garden, and they were starting to eat my dahlias, and I read that flour was a natural deterrent because it makes it so that when they get the flour in their mouth and then they can't eat. And it's worked. They haven't been eating my dahlias anymore. So I'm going to continue to use the flour. And then as we move over this path, this side of the hoop house, this is all honeywort, and I desperately need to get some landscape fabric on this. But I'm really excited to try this as a filler this year. You can see the plants are looking really good and they're thickening up. I just really need to get that floral netting on. So here's kind of a full view from the back corner. Probably the most boring view so far from the garden just because the dahlias aren't in yet. But along this pathway, I have a few different things planted. Right in here where this landscape fabric is, this is all bupleurum. And if you watched my hoop house video, you saw I had a bunch of bupleurum planted there. This is my second succession of bupleurum. And then if I can show this little corner for you guys, this is the corner bed, which gets a lot of shade. This is all filled with different varieties of astilbe. And a lot of these are first year plants, and so these will really develop for next year. So then if we keep walking down this path, you can see here is my main area of yarrow. I have been harvesting so much yarrow off of this, and there are a ton of buds everywhere. I just love yarrow. It gives bouquets that really pretty cottage garden look. You can see all along the back here are just tons of buds. And then at the end of this bed, well, first here's some more bupleurum, part of that second succession. I'm going to have a ton of that. But if I zoom out, these are some incredible hydrangeas, just to be pretty in the garden. This is the white, obviously, and then these are the blush, which are a little smaller this year, but I think they're still going to be beautiful. And then I have my raspberry patch over here. The grasshoppers were also getting the raspberries, and so I threw some flour on there, and they seem to be deterring them. And then I'm going to pan slow so I don't make you guys dizzy. We're back at the front of the greenhouse. This bed, half of it is planted with more of those Madame Butterfly Snapdragons. And my grass is really coming up in the holes. I need to completely clear all of these out. But this is not planted yet, only with the grass that's coming up. So I apologize, you guys are seeing this. This is going to get cleared out, and I have one tray of Maryland Snapdragons to try here. So some of them are going to go here, and then others will probably go, oh, maybe in the hoop house when the bupleurum are done. So then around the corner from my raspberries that are right there, I have a few planters. I popped some extra Rudbeckia plugs in there. This one is chamomile, and this is just kind of a miscellaneous one of some extra plugs I have. And this is my catch-all for extra seedlings and other things that need to get planted out. But over here, this bed that is right next to my fence, this is all my celosia. And these got planted, oh gosh, maybe a week and a half ago. And they have literally doubled in size. They're looking so good. I have pinched a lot of these, and I can't wait to have all of this beautiful celosia. Okay, so that was a look at the entire fenced-in area of the garden. Now I want to take you outside the fence and show you one established perennial bed that I have that I started last year. And then I want to show you all of the in-ground planting space that I did around the hoop house. I have so many seedlings out there, and so I cannot wait to share that with you guys. All right, so we're walking through my garden shed, and you can see here is all the additional planting by my hoop house. But first I want to show you my perennial bed, because that is right over here along the fence. And there are some beautiful things blooming in here. So first of all, I have this patch of yarrow. It's a little bit short, but these work really great for mason jar arrangements. And then in front of the yarrow, these are some more of those Goldilocks Rudbeckia. I think there's about maybe 10 or 11. So they will go right in the front of the bed. And then behind there, I have some really nice established echinacea. I think this is the third year for these echinacea. This is the cantaloupe echinacea, which is kind of that double poofy variety. They are really popular. I sold them to florists last year. I'm thinking I need to get more. And then I did pop some more seedlings, and I started from seed. There's a couple Shasta daisies right here. I think they're the crazy daisy. And then throughout, you'll just see like a few more echinacea seedlings I started from seed. Then right at the back here, I have a little strip of cosmos, some more yarrow right here. And then let's continue walking over. So this is a patch of catmint that is fully collapsed, but the pollinators are just completely covering it. And then this is a patch of yarrow that is also fully collapsed. I'm not sure if this is from rain or something laying there. I probably should just cut this back so it can rejuvenate itself. This is some Russian sage. I don't cut off this, but this is great for pollinators. But then looking over here, you can see I have another patch of cosmos. And then this area, which these are probably kind of hard to see because they're still pretty small, but all the little green plants dotted in here are Fama white pincushion flowers, or scabiosa. Those are supposed to be perennials in my area, so I'm hoping they fill in nicely. And then, let me zoom in a little bit. I have a few marigolds, and then over here I have 3 gomphrena plants. And then my trellis, this is called the Titan Squash Tunnel. This is from Gardener's Supply. And on each leg of the tunnel, I have a hill of miniature pumpkins. So by the end of the season, this entire trellis will be full of miniature pumpkins that I grow specifically for a big end of the season market. I'm real excited. I just did a pumpkin video, if you guys saw that. Another big echinacea. This is a 30-year echinacea. And then over here is just kind of a mixture. Some more echinacea, yarrow. There's black-eyed Susan in the back that are the typical small yellow and black. I don't cut off of those. This echinacea is more of, well, I'm shadowing it. This one, these I cut off of. These are either white or pink. Then here I have some more of the Crazy Daisy Shasta daisies, more yarrow, and then behind that there's some perennial phlox in there, which you probably can't see at the moment. And then you can see my raspberry bushes are peeking through the fence. Okay, let's head over by the hoop house. Ta-da! This is all the new space that I put in this year. I am so excited. I think my total growing space, if I did not say it earlier, is about 1/8 of an acre. But to start out, I have 8 4x4 raised beds, and I wanted to show you individually what is in these. This one is half ageratum, half bunny tails grass. And you can see I used a landscape fabric because I didn't want any weeds coming in here. I have so much area now, I really need to suppress the weeds. This bed is honeywort, which I'm trying for the first time. This is the second succession planting. This bed I just cleared out. It was holding too much moisture, and I had asters in here, and they do not like to be wet. And so I just transplanted these into a pot, and I will transplant these somewhere else. So I filled this in with cress. I direct sowed it. It should come up and be a really nice filler. And then this is mignonette, which has stalled out on growing. I'm not sure why. Somebody tell me why. I fertilized it. I don't know. I've never grown it before. So I'm just waiting to see what happens with that. That's the white mignonette. Here, this is another bed of Feverfew. Again, I cannot have enough Feverfew. This is my 3rd succession planting. The next bed is all Amazon dianthus, and I am really excited to see how this grows. I've never grown it before. Nicole from Flower Hill Farm grew this, and I really liked it, so I wanted to try it. This bed is kind of a mixture. I had a few larkspur in front, which I've been harvesting from, straw flowers and more straw flowers. I just harvested all of these before I started filming this video. I wasn't even thinking. I should have left them, but they are all inside drying. And then this last bed is Dusty Miller with a few straw flower in the back. Dusty Miller I grow for the foliage for my big end of the season market for mason jars, so it doesn't have to be particularly tall. And then if we pan up, this long bed against the neighboring co-op, which looks like it's full, but that's just my daffodils dying back. I have sunflower seedlings started at the back, which let me zoom in and show you. They are coming up very nicely. And then towards the front, here you can see my tag. So right in here are some pumpkin seeds that I just planted. They haven't started coming up. Well, here's one, but that might be a self-seeded one. But the pumpkins grow at the front and then they vine out, and the first succession planting of sunflowers grow at the back. I did this last year. It worked awesome. The sunflowers currently growing are self-seeded, and I have started to harvest off of them. All right, let me walk you through this area. This area is going to be awesome to have. So we had this topsoil brought in, and I decided that I wanted to cover a majority of it with landscape fabric, of course, to control the weeds. The middle section I have kept open for direct sowing and other things. And so these are glads. I'm going to have multiple successions of glads planted here. And then towards the end, I have started my direct sowing. So I have nigella, cress, and sunflowers planted so far. Most of this is still open. But this, going from here to the end, more straw flower. This is dark mignonette, looking much better than my light mignonette, and it's actually flowering, which it's definitely too short. So I just need to clip these blooms off, and then these plants are going to really start thickening up and will probably shoot longer stems for me. This is starflower, a type of scabiosa that you actually harvest the seed pods. So I'm real excited for those. And then guess what? More feverfew, because I just can't get enough. Okay, so this is at the end of where I did direct sowing. This is more craspedia. And then I have a type of celosia here that grows pretty much into a shrub. This I use primarily for foliage. And then this whole area is direct sown zinnias, and they are filling in so good. I think there's about 275 plants in here. Mostly Bennery's Giant. These are going to be beautiful. And then my hoop house, which I showed you in another video. Watch that if you haven't. And then the newest space to the garden was just added 2 days ago. Most of it is not planted, but I do have some more status. This is the blue variety. I hope you guys can hear me. There's a truck in the parking lot next door. Then this is all amaranth, which I have planted very closely. I'm going to grow these as single stems as an experiment. I'll let you know if it works. And then the last thing is mahogany splendor hibiscus. I am so excited about this. And these are looking beautiful and putting on some great growth so far. So that is a look at all of my planting areas of the garden. I cannot wait to see all of the blooms this season. Okay, so that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing a full look of all of my planting spaces this year. I still have one more additional space that I would like to add, but I will share that with you guys once I get that going. I am just so happy to have double the space this year, and I cannot wait to hopefully have plenty of flowers. I'm sure I'll add more space next year, but anyway, I'm really excited for the season. So stay tuned for a lot more. I'm going to be updating you guys a lot, doing bouquet making videos, and just trying to share everything with you. So stay tuned for all of that, and we'll see you soon.